From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here on a Tuesday. I hope you're having a good day so far, and we do have a good show for you. We're going to be talking about a lot that's happening here in the city of Nashville. We do this every month with the vice mayor here in this great city. That would be one Jim Shulman, who always brings snacks. He brought bagels today and cream cheese, which is nice. I gave you a cupcake. I didn't make it myself, but our wonderful EP Morningside, Bethany baked these cupcakes, brought them in.
And Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.
I know you will enjoy it. You know, you never really said, since you were last on, how you liked the stuffed grape leaf I made for you.
It was amazing.
He's so nice.
And
the thing about Jim is, now, if you honestly did not like it, would you have said, Nick, you know, you'd be nice about it always, but would you say, Nick, it was different, and yeah, it was a new thing for me to try, and I would be able to tell it wasn't your cup of tea, which...
Right. So, yeah, so like when my wife says, let's go out to dinner, and she says, yeah, you know, says, let's go someplace.
Yeah.
I go, well, you know, it's
she can tell.
Good, yeah. But, yeah, those grape leaves were amazing.
Well, I'm glad you liked them.
I ate them before I left the parking lot.
You and I are going to have to do a cooking show one of these days. So,
well, you know, maybe every time I show up, I bring something new, we try.
And talk about it, if it's something new and different.
Yeah.
And you guys can offer us suggestions as well. And it's good to have you on, though. A lot going on. Council meeting tonight, right? And,
that's right.
Yeah, the agenda, I'll let you hit on some of the main points. I know we had in the morning show, one of our reporters basically taking a look at the fact that the Republican National Convention issue is still on the table. Or it's going to be brought up to you again, but I thought it had kind of already been decided, and I know there have been some changes since that it's going to Milwaukee, but there still is a chance it could come someplace else?
So I don't understand exactly how a national committee makes its final decision.
Yeah.
But it's my understanding the Republican National Committee, one group basically said they want to take the convention in 2024 to Milwaukee. And then it just has to have some type of final approval. My guess is they're going to make the decision either this week or next week. It's going to be very soon. But we have a Councilmember Swope, who initially brought not a resolution, but he brought an ordinance, which is the contractual part of this whole thing. He brought it, I think, the first meeting in July. Didn't have the votes, withdrew the ordinance, but he has refiled and it's up tonight.
To do what?
Well, two things. One is the ordinance is the contractual provisions that kind of set out the parameters of Nashville hosting the Republican National Committee for a convention. But there's a resolution that basically says, you know, this is a good thing to host a convention. Nashville's a hospitable city, and mentions impact fees in the resolution.
Meaning that if they were to come here, they would have to pay some impact fees?
Well, no. So this is what makes it a little tricky, but
it's always confusing.
But it opens up some discussion. Impact fees are what you assess, or a city can assess a developer when they build one of these, you know, giant developments. And it's a fee that's assessed against the developer that they pay. Now, developers will say, well, that just adds to the cost of the thing. What we would say is an impact fee, and lots of counties have them in Tennessee. We don't have them.
Not always
here.
For developers. There have been communities here, right, that have had impact fees for homeowners. Like, I want to build a home. Years ago, there was one in Cheatham County, and I don't know if they may still have one. It may not be as high. And they said, well, if you are going to build a home here, in addition to whatever your cost of your home is going to be, there's this fee that you have to pay, which accounts for your moving here. You're going to be using our roads. You're going to be using our utilities, all of this.
Well, so, you know, let's say you build a facility that can house, you know, 300 units or whatever. It's a big facility or whatever. And there's obviously families may move in, whatever. So you've got infrastructure, you've got, you know, the roads, you've got schools, you've got extra police protection that may be necessary, fire. So there's lots of different things that are impacted by a big, I mean, typically you think of impact fees with a bigger development. So if somebody comes in and builds lots and lots of apartments or lots and lots of units, they're adding to what I would call the things that the city are necessary to supply. Again, roads, infrastructure, schools. And if the developers do it and there's no impact fee associated, then people who live in Nashville have to,
the folks who are already here,
pay the cost of that extra, the extra services needed.
But an impact fee is just a one-time thing anyway, though, right? You have to pay that. And some communities do that as a way to control growth. Because if you set that impact fee so high, all of a sudden the growth just shuts down.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking about slowing down growth. We're just talking about because growth is so big, who's paying for all this stuff?
Okay, but I guess the question, and maybe the viewers are going to think just like I am, all right, what on earth does that have to do with the Republican convention coming here?
Okay, so we don't have the authority to assess an impact fee in Davidson County.
Okay.
But if the legislature were to give us that authority, then we could do it. Right now, we don't have that
but still,
authority.
why is that connected? It was just added to this? I mean, why does that mean someone would assess an impact fee to the Republican
This is where
committee?
you get into, you know, okay, we're willing to do this if you're willing to do this.
Yeah.
All right, so the impact fees are mentioned in the resolution tonight that Councilmember Swope has also filed in addition to the contractual ordinance.
Okay.
And so the question was, you know, are we willing to host the convention if the legislature is willing to look at impact fees and giving us that responsibility or the authority to do it?
I see. Because and just so we understand this, there was a period here where the council seemed to indicate we're not going to do anything with regard to this. It didn't go. People from the outside are saying, look, Nashville's more of a Democratic city, and they don't want that convention, is what the perception would be. Angered some at the legislature because it's mostly Republican, and the question is, you know, are we reevaluating it now because we've upset some state lawmakers?
Yeah, so obviously I think there's some lawmakers that are upset that we wouldn't host the convention. This resolution added that last language about the impact fees, and the question is, does that do anything? And I don't, after reviewing that and after some discussions that I had, trying to figure out, okay, what is this? It is not on the table tonight. It's not like we would be saying, we're going to do this if you do this. No, I will tell you, impact fees are important to the city. Inclusionary zoning is important to the city. There's lots of things that are important to the city that we don't have, that are controlled by the legislature. It is good to talk about it, and I think it's important for both the council and for the state legislature to understand what that means in terms of a growing city like ours. And what I got, I had a nice opportunity to talk to Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton the other day about this, and you know, I think what I got from him was that we should always be talking about these things. It's important to the state how the city grows. It's important how Memphis grows, Knoxville, Chattanooga. And if we're running into a problem with something, and in this case, affordable housing and the cost of governing a city because of the growth that's coming, then we should all sit down and talk about it. But it's not in connection with
so
this.
it's not. So anyway, is it going to pass this ordinance or resolution for the...
At least what I've heard...
No, I mean for the convention.
What I've heard is that the votes are still not there.
Okay, so and if the votes aren't there, then that pretty much would mean it's, you know, my take is I think the Republican National Convention, given the choice, and I don't know why it just came down to our two cities between Milwaukee and Nashville, would prefer to come to Nashville. I just not for any other reason except that Nashville, frankly, is a way better city. I mean, it's much more to do here. It's more of an it city. It's a cool place to have a convention, whether it's the Republican or Democrat one.
Well, I never want to say anything bad about other cities.
Yeah, I'm just...
But we are obviously the best
you
city.
And I are sitting here and we have a bias. But I think if you asked most people around the country who came from neither place, would you rather visit Nashville or Milwaukee? I would venture to guess the vast majority would say Nashville.
Well,
we are Music City.
I certainly hope so. That's what we want to say. We're obviously the best city in the country.
Yeah. So,
and we would say that, but obviously Milwaukee is also a nice city.
There's nothing wrong with Milwaukee. But all right, so you don't think the votes will be there? If it's not, then that will finally end this. If it were to get the votes and the city council would say, yeah, we're fine if you want to come here, then it's going to be left to the committee, the Republican committee, to decide for themselves. All right, well, we got our options. Let's just choose now.
Well, let me explain. So there's a resolution that is non-binding. That's where those impact fees were.
All right.
Okay. There's an ordinance that basically has to pass, but it's up on first reading tonight. It's got to pass 3 readings. That one's the we're going to help with permitting and getting the streets taken care of and everything else. That's the one that really is important.
Sure.
The non-binding resolutions, and Councilmember Hurt has one saying that she doesn't want the convention to come.
Okay.
But it's the ordinance that's the one that's important.
Yeah,
and that's on
the
first reading
infrastructure,
tonight.
and that's the
right.
one where if it fails, there's not going to be the assistance with the permits and all of this, and that makes it a moot point, kind of,
Right.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a phone call real quick from Taylor. Taylor, good morning. Hi, Taylor.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
And good morning to the councilman.
Good morning.
This is a late maneuver by city council to even bring up this subject. The horse is out of the barn on this. The worst legislation that is proposed to the city council is normally passed on the first reading, and then discussions take place before the second and third. Well, on this particular project, they didn't even pass it on the first reading, which tells you a lot that this was a big convention that we probably had a real shot at. But at this point, the horse is out of the barn, so to speak, and no doubt will go to Milwaukee. But I think it's really rather shameful the way the council is now trying to handle this. They're still not interested in the convention. They would like to pass something that would get the impact fees, and that's what the main thing is, and to pretend to the legislature that they are really interested in having these Republicans in town is petty and just typical of the way some things are handled. And Vice Mayor, I can't congratulate you on the job you're doing up there. I think we've been going the wrong way, and the council is just becoming a non-factor in everything in this city, and the mayor's office has total control, and the council is just a doormat to be consulted. That's my point, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Taylor. Yep, you can respond to that. Yeah, what do you think?
Well, as head of the council, my job is to defend the council. We want to be relevant. I understand what Taylor's saying, and to his initial point about the convention, it is very late in the game based upon my understanding.
Yeah.
We learn from these things, and could it have been handled better? And we'll see what happens tonight. Sure, and Taylor also he makes a point about the strength of the council. We've always known that this is a very strong mayoral system in Nashville. The mayor, he has all the staff, or she has all the staff, whoever it is, and they have the control of the budget. I mean, we may pass the budget, but then we back off and the mayor does it. And it's been a particularly difficult last couple of years with the pandemic and everything else that's been going on. But the council has to step up. It has to be strong because it serves as a check and balance on the mayor. So I know that some people appreciate the council and some people don't think it's doing enough. Our job is to figure out the good things and the bad things and then work on them. But this resolution and this ordinance regarding the convention has been interesting because something new for the council, and they're having to deal with it, and it's not that easy.
Like you said, these things come along, it's new, and you learn from it. And so, listen, Taylor, I appreciate your call. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Eric and some other calls. More to talk about. We can continue on that page. There's some other things that will be considered. Isn't there a no smoking ordinance or something like that that's going to be discussed tonight? Something along those lines.
I don't know.
We'll check on that. And then also the Grand Prix coming this weekend.
The Grand Prix is
How about
coming.
that? You're going to be behind
racing?
the wheel? I'm going to do a story on Friday or Thursday, getting out. There's some boats that are going to be doing some racing.
I understand
I'm
that.
going to be checking that out. We'll take a break and come back. We'll talk more, take more calls right after this.